You're not being pulled over when the officer walks up to your window. That part already happened. The real interaction, the one that can either stay simple or turn complicated, starts the second they stop talking and just look inside your car. No questions, no accusations, just silence and a slow sweep of light across everything you didn't think mattered. Let me ask you something real quick. When that light hits your car and the officer hasn't said anything yet, do you stay still? Or do you instinctively start moving and explaining yourself? Be honest and drop it in the comments, because that exact moment, before you even speak properly, is where most drivers unknowingly make things worse, and what you say next can either shut everything down or open a door you didn't mean to open. Stay with me, because this isn't the part people usually explain clearly. Most drivers think the conversation starts with the officer's first question. It doesn't. By the time they speak, they've already formed a first impression, and it's not based on your license or your explanation. It's based on observation. That quiet pause when they shine a light into your car, that's not hesitation. That's assessment. They're checking patterns, where your hands are resting, what your eyes are doing, whether you're relaxed or trying too hard to look relaxed. And here's something most people don't realize. They're not just looking for illegal items. They're looking for behavior that doesn't match the situation. Let me paint this in a way that makes sense. Imagine you're sitting still, hands visible, not rushing anything. The officer shines the light, sees exactly what they expect to see, nothing unusual. Now compare that to this. The light appears, and suddenly you start adjusting things. Maybe you reach down. Maybe you shift your body. Maybe you grab something quickly. To you, it's harmless. To them, it breaks the pattern. And when a pattern breaks, attention increases immediately. This is where most drivers unknowingly create a problem without doing anything illegal. They react too quickly, not because they're guilty, but because they're human. And that reaction becomes part of the officer's mental checklist. Why did they move right then? What were they reaching for? Was something being hidden? Again, it doesn't prove anything, but it creates a reason to look deeper. Now let's talk about what happens next, because this is the part that actually matters. After that silent scan, the officer starts talking, and their questions aren't random. They're influenced by what they just saw. If everything looked normal, the conversation stays simple. If something felt off, even slightly, the tone changes. More questions, more focus, more time. And then comes the moment that decides everything. Do you mind if I take a look inside your car? It sounds casual, almost harmless. But this is where the situation quietly shifts from a stop to a search. And most people answer this question emotionally instead of strategically. They say yes because they don't want trouble. They start explaining because they want to seem cooperative. Or they panic and talk too much, thinking it will help. Let me be very clear with you. You are allowed to say no. But saying no the wrong way can make things worse. And saying yes without thinking can remove protections you didn't even know you had. There's a reason experienced drivers, and especially lawyers, stick to one simple line. I don't consent to any searches. No extra words. No attitude. No long explanation. Why is this so important? Because it does something very specific. It draws a line without creating conflict. It tells the officer exactly where you stand without turning the situation into an argument. And most importantly, it protects you if things go further. Now here's where people misunderstand the situation. They think saying that sentence stops everything. It doesn't. If the officer believes they have probable cause, they can still search. But your refusal changes the legal context of that search. And that difference can matter a lot later. Let's go back for a second to something subtle. The officer's decision isn't made at one moment. It builds. From the second you pull over, to how you stop the car, to how you move inside it, to how you respond to that light. Everything adds up. So when people focus only on what they say at the end, they miss the bigger picture. The entire interaction is connected. There's something else you need to understand, and this part is often overlooked. Officers don't expect perfection. They expect predictability. If your behavior is steady, consistent, and calm, it lowers tension immediately. But when actions feel rushed, inconsistent, or reactive, it creates uncertainty. And uncertainty leads to more control from the officer's side. More questions, more caution, more time. Let me give you a contrast that makes this very clear. One driver sits still, answers briefly, refuses calmly, and keeps everything controlled. Another driver moves quickly, talks a lot, tries to explain everything, and ends up agreeing to things they didn't need to. Same situation, completely different experience. Now here's a mistake that doesn't get talked about enough. People try to soften their refusal. They say things like, I guess I'd rather you didn't. I don't have anything, but I'm not comfortable. And what they've done, without realizing, is turn a clear answer into an open conversation. And once it becomes a conversation, it can go anywhere. Clarity is power in this moment, not aggression, not silence. Clarity. I don't consent to any searches. Then stop talking. At the end of the day, this isn't about tricking the system or outsmarting anyone. It's about understanding how these situations actually work. Most drivers focus on the obvious parts, the lights, the questions, the ticket. But the real decisions happen in the quiet moments. The pauses, the movements, the way you respond before you even realize you're being evaluated. And once you start noticing those moments, you stop reacting automatically. You start controlling how the interaction unfolds. And that's the difference between a simple stop and a situation that goes further than it ever needed to.